They should have killed her when they had the chance. The guards didn't see her as a threat, just another weak human, caught and caged like an animal, shackled, alone, defenseless. The Galactic Dominion had crushed empires, enslaved entire worlds, and broken countless warriors. Their interrogation methods were ruthless. Their prisons were escape-proof. At least, that's what they told themselves. And yet, they had never captured a human before. Sarah Carter sat in the dimly lit cell, hands bound behind her back, ankles locked in restraints. The metal cuffs dug into her skin, but she didn't struggle. Not yet. She listened, watched, waited. The guards outside her cell spoke in their guttural tongue, laughing over a card game. They made bets on how long she would last before she broke. A week, maybe 2. Fools. Humans don't break like other species. Pain, humans endure worse. Fear, it sharpens them. Solitude? They've conquered entire frontiers alone. Sarah wasn't panicking. She was calculating. She memorized their patrol routes, their habits. She noted the one guard who always forgot to relock the supply closet, the one who never checked. The security feeds, the officer who drank on duty. The Dominion relied on discipline, but discipline cracks when arrogance creeps in. 3 days in, they reduced her food rations. A psychological trick, make the prisoner feel weak, desperate. Sarah just smiled. They had no idea they were starving the wrong species. Humans evolved on scarcity. The body adjusts, the mind sharpens, and the moment hunger turns into anger, things start getting interesting. On the 6th day, she found her opening. A lone guard entered her cell for routine maintenance. He was sloppy, overconfident. In an instant, Sarah moved. One swift motion, her legs wrapped around his neck, a sharp twist. Silence. She took his knife, his keycard, his sidearm. The hunt had begun. The first guard she took out cleanly. The second didn't even have time to react. By the time the alarm blared through the station, it was already too late. Sarah didn't just escape. She took the prison. One by one, the guards fell. Some tried to run. Others tried to fight. It didn't matter. Sarah had no armor, no backup. No mercy. The Dominion had captured a helpless human prisoner. Now they were trapped with a human predator. And humans? Humans are terrifying when they decide to fight. By sunrise, the Galactic Dominion would be short one prison facility, and Sarah Carter? She'd be piloting a stolen warship, heading straight for home. The Dominion thought they had captured a fragile creature. A human, weak, predictable. Sarah Carter knew better. From the moment they threw her into the cold, metallic cell, she understood one thing. She wasn't here to survive. She was here to win. The guards didn't see it that way. They saw a prisoner, shackled, alone, no weapons, no backup. To them, she was nothing more than another broken soldier, another trophy of the Dominion's growing list of conquered enemies. The cell was small, barely enough room to stretch out. The walls were smooth, seamless metal, no cracks, no bolts. To pry loose, the only source of light flickered from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows across the floor. The air smelled of oil and antiseptic, thick with the stench of despair from those who had rotted here before her. She heard the guards before she saw them. A pair of Dominion warriors, massive and armored, their claws clicking against the floor. As they patrolled the corridor outside, their voices rumbled in their native tongue, a brutal, guttural language that sounded like grinding metal. Sarah had learned enough to understand their meaning. She's a small one. She'll last. A week. She'll beg before the end. Amateurs. They were treating her like the others they had captured. Like she was going to sit in the dark, wallowing in despair, waiting for them to decide her fate. They had no idea they were starving the wrong species. By the second day, they cut her food rations, a common Dominion tactic. They didn't need to beat her down physically, not yet. Starvation did the job for them. It worked on most species. The weak ones would start begging after 3 days. The warriors would get desperate, trying to escape in a reckless burst of energy. That was when they were easiest to break. But Sarah was human. Hunger didn't make her weak. It made her focus. Her ancestors had survived ice ages, deserts, and famines. Civilizations had risen and fallen on the backs of humans who had learned to fight through hunger. The guards watched for signs of suffering. Sarah gave them nothing. She sat still. She conserved energy. She let her body adjust to the starvation, slowing her breathing, keeping her muscles relaxed. She waited. And when the guards finally looked away, assuming she was growing weak, she watched. The prison had a rhythm. Every 8 hours, the guards switched shifts. One patrol in the morning, one at night. Every 12 hours, they ran security checks on the locks. Every 24 hours, they brought in rations, half a bowl of protein paste, a cup of water, just enough to keep a body alive. Sarah memorized every detail. The Dominion were powerful, yes, but they were also creatures of habit. They relied on their technology, their numbers, their reputation. They assumed no one could challenge their systems. They assumed wrong. Sarah noticed the smallest things. A guard who never checked the camera feeds properly. Another who always left the supply closet unlocked. One officer who sipped from a flask during his shift, getting just a little too relaxed. Weak points. Tiny cracks in the armor of the machine that kept her locked away. Most prisoners saw walls. Sarah saw opportunities. By day 5, Sarah started testing them. Not directly. That would have been stupid. Instead, she used the art of being underestimated. She pretended to weaken. She let herself stumble when they brought her food. She slumped in the corner of her cell, eyes half closed. She slowed her breathing just enough to make them think she was fading. It worked. The guards stopped being careful. They took their time. They joked about how pathetic she looked. They didn't notice how her eyes were still sharp, watching, tracking everything. That night, she made her first move. She unclipped a thin, nearly invisible wire from the seam of her uniform. It wasn't much, but Sarah knew that in the right hands, anything could be a weapon, and she had every intention of proving it. Patience is a weapon. 6 days in, the Dominion had gotten comfortable. Lone guard came into the cell, checking her restraints. Sarah struck. It was quick, brutal. The wire slipped over his thick, armored throat before he even realized what was happening. He thrashed, claws scraping against the walls, but Sarah was relentless. Humans are soft, flexible, agile. The Dominion was strong, yes, but slow, built for brute force, not finesse. His body went limp in seconds. Sarah didn't hesitate. She took his knife, his sidearm, his keycard. She had been waiting for this moment, and now it was time to remind the Dominion why they should have killed her when they had the chance. Sarah knew exactly what was coming. The Dominion didn't just rely on force. They relied on arrogance. Their empire had spanned the stars for centuries. They had crushed civilizations, broken warriors, and burned entire planets to dust. To them, humans were nothing, just another primitive species, barely worth the effort of conquering. And that belief? That was their first mistake. Not a threat. The first guard found the body. Sarah had left it slumped in the corner of her cell, making it look like an accident. A struggle, yes, but not an escape attempt. Just another prisoner who had tried and failed. That was key. If they thought she'd escaped, alarms would be blaring, patrols doubling, security tightening. Instead, they saw exactly what they expected to see, a failed prisoner. And that meant they weren't looking for her. Sarah had less than 5 minutes before. They started asking real questions. That was enough. She moved fast. The Dominion built their prisons for strength, not stealth. The vents were too small for their own species, but for a human. Tight squeeze, sure, but possible. Sarah pulled herself into the shadows, heart pounding, her breath steady. She wasn't escaping, not yet. That would have been stupid. She was hunting. The Dominion assumed she was a rogue soldier, a survivor, maybe even a desperate fugitive, but they had no idea who she really was. Sarah Carter wasn't just a survivor. She was trained for this. Special forces, infiltration, counterintelligence. And the Dominion had just given her a fully operational military base to play with. Their command room was the first place she reached. No locked doors, no security override, because why would they need them? Who could possibly break in? Sarah slipped inside. 1 minute. That was all she needed. 1 minute to study the maps, the security feeds, the guard rotations. 1 minute. To memorize everything, then she was gone. The Dominion weren't stupid. Brutal, yes. Arrogant, absolutely, but not stupid. They didn't waste time questioning the other prisoners. They ran a full lockdown, guards at every exit, patrols sweeping the halls. They assumed she would do what every other species would do, run, hide, panic. Instead, Sarah sat in the air ducts completely still, breathing slow. The Dominion didn't understand patience. Their soldiers acted on dominance and power. Smash the enemy before they had a chance to fight back. Break their spirit before resistance could grow. But humans were predators, and predators watched. She waited until they were restless, until their search slowed, until the boredom crept in. Then she struck, the first kill they never saw coming. The Dominion officer was alone, a big, hulking brute, standing near an open corridor, gripping a shock baton. Sarah dropped down behind him, silent. He never heard her. A quick, brutal strike to the back of the neck, a twist of the wrist. Silence. Sarah took his comms device, his clearance, badge, and most importantly, his uniform. It wasn't a perfect fit, but in the dark, under pressure, even the best soldiers miss details. And now? Now she wasn't just a fugitive. She was a ghost. Sarah had become a shadow. The Dominion still thought they were in control. That was their second mistake, their first mistake, thinking she was just another prisoner. Now they were about to learn what a real predator looked like. Status report. Commander Vorgzal stomped into the security bay, his patience already wearing. Then, the alarms had been silenced. The base had returned to routine, yet something felt wrong. Report, he barked. A technician fumbled with the controls. Sir, we, did a full sweep. No signs of the human. Vorgzal's mandibles clicked in irritation. No signs? He repeated slowly. The technician hesitated. There was one casualty. One of our guards, found near the storage bay. Vorgzal stiffened. A guard was down and they hadn't raised the alarm. That was bad. Very bad. But it was about to get worse. Sarah's first move, Sarah, had hours before they realized the truth. That was more than enough time. With the stolen clearance badge, she moved freely through the halls. No one questioned her. Why would they? She looked like them. At a glance, she was just another Dominion soldier, moving with purpose, keeping her head down. She memorized patrol routes, noted blind spots in their security, and most importantly, she listened. That was the real key. The guards chatted, complained, argued. They were soldiers, not machines, and in their arrogance they let slip everything she needed to know: security codes, weapons, storage, power grid access points. Sarah smiled. Time to get to work. Sarah didn't attack head-on. That would have been suicide. Instead, she made the Dominion fight themselves. Her first target was power distribution. Not a full blackout. Too obvious. Just a series of small, controlled failures. Security cameras flickered. Lights dimmed in random sections. Doors refused to open. Confusion spread like a virus. Guards started blaming each other. Maintenance teams ran in circles, trying to fix problems that weren't really there. Sarah watched from the shadows. waiting, and when the first patrol split off to investigate an unresponsive terminal, she struck. The Dominion were powerful, stronger, taller, more durable, but they fought like conquerors. Sarah fought like a survivor. Her first kill was silent, a quick grab, a sharp twist. The Dominion soldier never even screamed. She dragged the body into a supply closet and moved on. The next two were easier. They were distracted, arguing about the power failures. Sarah didn't hesitate. A knife to the base of the skull, a stolen rifle, a flash of movement, then nothing. 3 down. No alarms, and the Dominion still thought their security systems were just malfunctioning. Sarah knew her real goal wasn't escape. It was chaos. She didn't just want them searching for her. She wanted them panicked. So she set the base on fire, not literally, but she blew up a fuel cell in Hangar 3. The explosion was loud enough to shake the walls. Fire alarms blared. Guards rushed toward the blaze. The security center rerouted power to contain the damage, and just like that, Sarah had a clear path to the weapons bay. Where is she? Vorzal was furious. The human was still inside the base. That much was clear now. She's not running, he growled. His second-in-command flinched. Sir? Vorzal's mandibles clenched. She's hunting us. His realization came too late. By the time his forces were properly mobilized, Sarah already had a gun. Sarah crouched behind a stack of supply crates, gripping the Dominion plasma rifle. It was too big for her hands, heavy, unbalanced. She hated it, but it would do. A squad of 4 soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Sarah didn't wait. She fired first. The blast hit center mass, dropping the first guard instantly. The second flinched. Big mistake. Sarah rolled left, grabbed a Dominion blade from her belt, and threw it. The alien never saw it. Coming, 2 down. The third one actually managed to fire back, but humans were fast. Sarah ducked. The plasma scorched the air where she had just been. She closed the distance in a heartbeat. Hand to hand now, her specialty, a sharp elbow to the throat. Stolen rifle flipped into position. 1 shot, 3 down. The 4th fled. Sarah let him. She wanted him to. Because now the Dominion would realize the truth. This wasn't a prison break. This wasn't a failed escape attempt. This was a war, and Sarah Carter was just getting started. The Dominion had ruled this prison. For years, their laws were absolute, their punishments brutal, their arrogance unmatched, and that's why they never expected this. The hunted was about to become the hunter. Commander Vorzal paced in the security room, mandibles clicking in frustration. This isn't a simple escape attempt, he growled. The other officers stood stiff, silent. They knew he was right. This human, Sarah Carter, wasn't running. She was fighting, and worse, she was winning. 7 guards were already dead. The security network was barely functional. Their own soldiers were too afraid to patrol alone. This was no longer a containment issue. This was a war. Sarah's next move, divide and destroy. Sarah had spent hours watching them, the way they moved, how they responded to threats, where they were weakest, and now she was going to tear them apart. She started by isolating them. Security squads usually moved in pairs or trios. She waited for them to split up. When a single guard checked a malfunctioning terminal alone, she struck, a sharp twist of the neck, silent, efficient. Another soldier dragged into the shadows, one by one. They vanished. The Dominion numbers shrunk and fear spread. They started double-checking every corner, jumping at every sound. They were scared. That's when Sarah changed tactics. She let one live. Not by accident, on purpose. She knocked him unconscious, tied him to a chair in the mess hall, and left a message on the wall. You are not the hunters. You are the prey. When the Dominion found him, panic turned into terror. The Dominion was strong, powerful, brutal in open combat. But that was the thing. They only knew open combat. They didn't understand stealth, didn't know how to fight an enemy they couldn't see. And Sarah Sarah lived in the shadows. She started setting traps, simple ones. A pressure plate under a loose floor panel. Step on it, boom. A tripwire at ankle height. Fall hard. Break something. A hacked door lock. A patrol trapped inside a storage bay. With no way out. The Dominion weren't just losing soldiers, they were losing their minds. Vorzal had seen many battles, but never like this. Never against an enemy they couldn't even find. His officers looked at him for answers, but he had none. "Sir, what do we do?" one finally asked. The great Dominion warrior, leader of this facility, hesitated. That's when he knew. Sarah had already won. The moment he hesitated, the moment he doubted, she had him. But Vorzal was not going to die cowering. If this human wanted a fight, she would get one. The Dominion changed tactics. No more patrols in small groups, no more reacting to her attacks. Instead, they hunted her. Every remaining soldier, all 20 of them, moved as one, sweeping the halls, checking every room. Relentless, unstoppable. If they saw even a glimpse of her, they fired. No hesitation, no mercy. And for the first time since the hunt began, Sarah had to retreat. She ducked into the vents, heart pounding. Shots sizzled past. The Dominion weren't scared anymore. They were angry, and that made them even more dangerous. Sarah had seconds to think. She needed a way out, a new plan, and then she saw it. The control room. The place where they controlled every system in the prison. If she could get in there, she could end this. She moved fast, through the vents, down maintenance shafts, dodging patrols, until she was at the door. One guard, big, heavily armed. Sarah had no time for stealth. She rushed him, a sharp kick to the knee, a stolen blade to the throat. He dropped. Sarah overrode the door lock and stepped inside. The control panel glowed in front of her. One press of a button, and every cell door in the prison slid open. The prison riot. The Dominion had been fighting one human. Now they were about to fight hundreds. The prisoners surged out, angry, desperate, ready for revenge. Guards tried to contain them. They failed. Fighting erupted everywhere. Sarah slipped away in the chaos. She wasn't here to lead a rebellion. She just needed a way out. And with the Dominion forces completely overwhelmed, she had one. She grabbed a stolen rifle, took one last look at the chaos she had unleashed, and vanished into the night. Hours later, as Dominion reinforcements finally arrived, as the fires in the prison burned high, Vorzal sat in the ruins of his command center, staring at the destruction, the humiliation. One human, one had done all of this, and he knew in that moment that his people had no idea what they were up against. Humanity was not weak. They were not prey. They were something far, far worse. And now? Now they had a reason to fight. The prison was in ruins. Smoke curled from shattered hallways. The once mighty Dominion forces were dead, scattered, or fleeing, and Sarah Carter, she was gone. But her actions? They would never be forgotten. The Dominion had ruled this sector with an iron grip. They had enslaved. They had conquered. They believed no species could challenge them. Then, one human did. One woman turned their strongest warriors into prey. One prisoner brought their entire system to its knees. And now the galaxy knew. Word spread faster than light. The Dominion's most secure prison, defeated by a single human. Across Dominion-controlled space, governors whispered in fear. If one human could do this, what could 1,000 do? Some doubted. It was just luck, they claimed, but others, they knew better. Humans weren't just strong, they were relentless, and if provoked, they would never stop. Before, humans were seen as just another species, strange, unpredictable, but not a threat. Now, they were something else, something dangerous. Military strategists revised their invasion plans. Diplomats rewrote their treaties, because now everyone had to ask one question. What happens when humanity decides to fight? And no one wanted. to find out Sarah's legacy. Some say Sarah escaped to the outer worlds. Others say she was picked up by a human warship. The Dominion? They never found her. But they did find her message, burned into the wreckage of the prison walls. Never underestimate humanity. It wasn't just a warning, it was a promise, and from that day forward, no one made that mistake again.